Em 5 segundos, mais uma transmissão de conhecimento do Centro Universitário Internacional Uninter.
Olá a todas e todos, é grande
Hi
prazer estar
everyone,
aqui
it's a pleasure to be with you today in this
sobre
event Talking
inteligência
Business
artificial e
about
aprendizado
artificial intelligence and
Hoje, estou com dois
interactive
convidados
learning.
especiais.
Today I
Eu sou
have two
Jason
special
Dye,
guests. I'm Jason
vice-presidente
Dye, the
global da
Vice
Uninter,
President of Uninter
e
Global
estou junto
Hub,
com
and
Jan
I'm
Khaled, que é
here today with
fundador e CEO
Jan
da Neste
Khaled, who is the
HiSolver, e
founder
a
and
Ilknur,
CEO of
que
HiSolver,
também trabalha nessa startup. Deixa eu
and
falar
I also
rapidamente em
have
relação ao formato do evento. A gente
Ilknur,
está
who
transmitindo esse
also
evento em
works
dois
in
canais.
this
O canal principal
startup.
do
So
Grupo
we
Uninter
have
em
two
português
channels,
e
the
também
main
em
Uninter
inglês no
channel
canal
in
do Global Hub.
Portuguese and the
Certo?
Global Hub
Vocês
channel in
trocarem
English. So you
dados,
can
você browse o que
switch back and
quiser
forth
para
if you
assistir,
want
mas
to
sempre aparecerá
watch,
no
but
Grupo Uninter
you
transmissão em
will
português.
have at the Uninter
Eu
group
vou
the
ser bem
Portuguese
breve nos meus
transmission.
comentários, eu
So
quero um evento
I'll be
bastante
very
interativo.
brief in my
Fiquei
comments. I
feliz
will try to be
nas
very
conversas
interactive. I
iniciais
was
onde
really happy in
Jan
our
falou
initial
que ele gosta
conversation with
bastante
Jan, and
de
he said
responder às
that
perguntas da plateia.
he
Então
loves
saiba
to
que vocês
answer
podem escrever
questions
suas
from the
perguntas. A gente
audience.
vai
So
ter um
you
primeiro
can
bloco conversando com
send your
Jan,
questions. You're going to have a first
depois eu
block
conversando
talking
em
to
inglês com
Jan,
a
and
Ilknur,
then I'll have
e
a second
depois a
block
gente vai ter
with
uma
Ilknur
sessão
in
que é
English,
praticamente
and then
metade
you're going to
de
have half
perguntas e
of the event
respostas que
with
vem da
Q&A
plateia.
coming
Então,
from
basta
the
você fazer a
audience. So
pergunta uma vez, que
you
a gente vai
can ask
receber a
the
resposta
question
e
once,
faremos o
you're going
máximo
to
possível
receive the
para
answer and
atender
try
todas as
our
perguntas feitas,
best
mas
to
vamos maximizar o nosso tempo, então os pedidos aqui.
address
Vamos
all
entrar direto ao assunto. Então,
questions that you
uma
made. So
pincelada rápida em relação às
going over
biografias dos
very
nossos convidados.
briefly about the
E de
biography
propósito, eu vou deixar uma
of
boa
our
avaliação positiva
candidates,
para eles,
of our
para ouvir de quem realmente
speakers, I'm
viveu essas
sorry,
experiências. Mas
and
Jan
then you're going to hear
veio
from
nasceu em
them.
São
So
Paulo,
Jan was born in
foi
São
movido
Paulo.
pela missão
He's
de
moved by the
transformar a
mission
maneira
of
de como as pessoas
transforming the
aprendem
way
e
people
compartilham
learn
conhecimento,
and
não só no
share
Brasil, mas no mundo
knowledge, not
todo.
only in Brazil, but
Lançou a
all over the
startup
world.
baseada em inteligência
He
artificial,
launched the startup based
que
on artificial
possibilita
intelligence that
comunidades de
allow
aprendizagem imersivas
communities
e
of
interativas
learnings
em escala.
that
A
are
gente vai ficar
immersive,
atento para ver com
interactive, and
inteligência
in
artificial
scale.
como você
And
consegue
in
fazer uma
scale has a lot to
gamificação em
do
escala.
with
Ele
artificial
se formou como
intelligence so that
mestrado em
you
ciência e
can
engenharia
have
de
AI
computação pela
with
Universidade de Harvard,
interactivity. So he
e tem profundo
has
conhecimento
a
técnico e também essa
postgraduate
fortificação
degree from
organizacional
Harvard,
no acesso
actually a
à
computer
inovação.
science and
A
engineer
Ilknur
degree
ela
from
nasceu na
master's degree
Turquia, é
from Harvard.
desenvolvedora de
Ilknur was
software,
born in
líder de
Turkey.
projetos. Ela
She's a
introduziu os
software
nossos recentes
developer,
da HiSolver.
and
Ela tem experiência
recently
em
he
outras
joined
empresas, assim como
HiSolver
Jobform,
team. She
onde
had
aprimorou
experience in
vários
other companies
produtos
like
também em
Jobform,
escala.
where
Então, é um
she
grande prazer ter vocês
improved
dois
some
aqui com a
products
gente e vamos
in
direto ao
scale.
ponto aí a
And it's
conversa
a
que
pleasure
está
to have you
começando.
here. Let's go straight to the
Então,
point.
Jan,
And
é
we are
um
going to
grande
start
prazer tê-lo
with
aqui.
Jan.
Eu
Jan, it's a
não
pleasure to have you
apresentei sua vida
here.
inteira, então me
Of
apresente
course, I
rapidamente.
didn't mention
Quem é você?
your background
Você não necessariamente faz uma mistura assim
completely
de
because
aberto no currículo.
you have
A gente
done so
sabe que
many
papel
things,
às vezes
but could you
qualquer
go
coisa. Então,
over
qual é o seu histórico
uh,
profissional e também
your
pessoal?
professional background and a little bit of
Gente,
your
muito obrigado pela introdução.
personal
Super
background too?
feliz de
So
estar
thank you for the
aqui. É sempre uma
introduction.
honra
I'm really happy to be
compartilhar
here.
meus
It's a
conhecimentos,
pleasure
essa
to share
transformação aí da minha
this
vida para quem está
knowledge. That's part of
projetando
my
coisas
mission.
juntas.
This
Bom, eu
mission
acho que começo um
is
pouco
to
contando. Primeiro, eu sou natural de São Paulo,
facilitate
minha mãe é
so
do norte de Minas,
this
né?
kind of interaction. I'm
Migrou para
from
São
São
Paulo
Paulo.
muito
My mother
cedo,
is from the
cerca
north
de
of Minas Gerais. She
25
migrated
anos,
to
né,
São
para
Paulo
estudar. E por
very
conta
early
disso,
on because she wanted to
investiu muito
study,
na minha
and
formação.
that's why
Então eu
she
já venho
invested
com
so
esse
much
background, né, de uma família rica,
in
muito complexa.
my
É, e
education. So I don't come
esse foi
from
o
a
grande
rich family,
investimento que ela fez. Então
but
ela sempre
that's the
começa com
greatest
isso.
investment that she did.
Eu
everything starts with her. I studied at the Federal Brazilian Institute, and that's where it started my journey in entrepreneurship and as a technician. I did a technical high school. We called it like information systems, and I was addicted to games. I like to play and so on and so forth. But I decided to open a game company that are going to connect artificial intelligence that was just being born with new games. I knew how to program. I decided to look for a business administration course to learn about management. So I went to Fundação Getúlio Vargas. So my technical high school was 4 years. I just realized what a university was in my 4th year of high school. So after reflecting how education works in Brazil, I started to think, okay, I didn't have access to information for some reasons. Family played a role, have to take a specialty course to be able to enter university in Brazil. It's different than the US. So I realized what university was when I was already starting my BS in management. So my BA in management. So and I started thinking, how can people shine in the career of their lives? I had a scholarship to study at Fundação Getúlio Vargas, which is a private institution. And then at the end of my first year of the university, I started realizing that much about business administration has to do with economics. So I decided I was going to study economics at the University of São Paulo at the same time. And people were like, are you crazy? You're going to go over 2 degrees, undergrad degrees at the same time. You're going to go back at 2 in the morning. You're not going to sleep. It was complicated. I would arrive at FGV at 7 in the morning. I would leave at 5. I would go to the University of São Paulo at 7. We're going to leave at 11. So I didn't have much time, not even to study, but I was really excited with the 2 undergrad degrees. I mean, I was the first person in my family to go to the university. And then in 2017, I was invited to start a data science group at FGV, the GV code. So people are really excited. And there I realized that I didn't know how to program. I said, okay, I don't know much actually. And I had a very good friend who was studying economics at Getúlio Vargas and was studying math and computer science at the University of São Paulo. So she suggested me to migrate from the university, the School of Economics, to math at the University of São Paulo. And people thought that I was crazy, but I did. I did a data math, and they were really, so it was very difficult, very hard. And that's when I realized that was led me to develop HiSolver. My undergrad that I did at the University of São Paulo had 54% of people leaving the company. So people, it takes such a long time for people to get into the university, and they cannot graduate because it's really difficult. And then I started going over the problems of education in Brazil, and I realized that it was endemic. So I then dedicated my life to solve educational problems. I tried to understand what type of solution I could use to solve educational problems in Brazil. So I graduated in 2018 at Getúlio Vargas in FGV in 2018. Then as my thesis in my undergrad thesis at the University of São Paulo, and they suggested me to try to go do my master's abroad. So I applied for Stanford and Harvard. I was accepted in both of them. I chose a computational science in Harvard, and I had a scholarship to do so. So I'm going to tell you what I did here in Harvard. So I started with this mission. How can we improve knowledge sharing? And that's my mission, and that's why I came to do my master's here in Harvard. Perfect, great. So following you, what you just said, I mean, you graduated and you had this idea and this mission. So what is HiSolver? What is your product? What is your services? So let me tell you a little bit how we started. But first of all, HiSolver is a platform for producers. So we believe that we learn not in the classroom, but out of the classrooms. And that came from my own experience. The way how I managed to have a scholarship. I started studying. I got from two large foundations in Brazil. I found a channel called Three Blue Brown on YouTube, and there saw so many creators. So creating content for the classroom, and I actually entered my master's trying to find a solution for the classroom. But when I finished my thesis, I realized that everybody today is on social media, buying courses, buying mentorships, and trying to learn from people who had trailed a certain path, and not only in theory but in practice. How can you manage to do what you want to do? If you want to work in finance, how do you go to finance? How, if you want to lose weight, how you lose weight, become more healthy? How you manage your personal finance? So something nice about the economy of creators is that it's like an open classroom where people are engaging in a creative but also palatable way, so you can understand what they say. And after I graduated, when my company really started, we decided to focus on the creators economy. So we have different platforms, the info creator to sell their products. And what we are doing is adding an AI layer into that, so we can escalate this sort of educational business. And I will tell you more throughout our conversation. Great. So I'm curious, because you said that people thought you were crazy to embrace so many things at the same time and do very difficult things at the same time. And especially you managed to go to top universities. There's a great university for Harvard, and in Harvard for international students. But before we got into these issues, but I'm curious to know from how can you compare your experience studying in Brazil and your experience doing your master's in Harvard? Was it different? What are the similarities? What do you identified from each one of your background? I'm gonna give you a spoiler, okay? But Harvard is easy, guys. So take the courses, it's very easy. It has nothing to do what I had at University of São Paulo for one single reason. Maybe it was the best learnings that I could have. And if you want to study abroad, it's a good idea. I have my bias because of my background, but Brazil is focused on tests. The undergrad in Brazil was focusing in very difficult tests and exams and midterms and finals, and in the US is more collaborative. So sometimes the American get into the undergrad going through science, working on projects, leading a sports team, and the foreigner has to go through Olympics and doing projects. No, it's just to have the math Olympics and that's it. So I enjoyed my experience in the US, focused on projects, on understanding as a mission how the School of Engineering and Applied Science, the mission is to form leaders that will try to go and teach you the transaction. So they're going to get what you've learned and take it to reality, to the market. Of course, thinking that the market is is how you take what you've learned to the life of other people. And I think this focus that you have here in the US on the real world, not only taking tests and midterms and finals, but it matters what you do when you finished our course. What are you going to take to the market? What are you going to take to people? What is the value they're going to add? So I think that's the most important thing about my American experience. So we are experiencing a time of revolution in artificial intelligence, and I was privileged because I went through the boom of AI, So I was in Harvard, living in Harvard dorm, and watching the guy who invented an algorithm, AI algorithm, that was fantastic during a week. So, and what I liked at the University of São Paulo, I met great professors, awesome professor. Professor Adlon Galvez, my boss at the Neuromatic Institute. I was a research, the neuroscience at the Institute. So this close contact with professors is easier to have in Brazil. It's something more informal. Here in the US, the relationship is more formal. But of course, we have advantages and disadvantages. And in Brazil, you need to learn. It's difficult at the University of São Paulo. But what's nice in the US is that you are applying the technology that you learn, you develop projects, and you put everything into practice. So you touched an issue that is teamwork and working on projects. I'm curious on what will be your thoughts on two quotes from great personalities, like a team with A with a B idea is always better than a B team with an A idea. It's more important that the quality of people than the quality of the idea. That's a quote from the co-founder and former executive chairman of LinkedIn. And the second quote is the great things in business are never done by one person. They are done by a team of people. That's from Steve Jobs from Apple. So you mentioned working in projects with more people. How do you see your view on those two different quotes? I'm going to start with your latter quotes. Of course, I'm a big fan of Steve Jobs. I think he's, in my humble opinion, he's the greatest, not in terms of money, but he's the greatest businessman in the US, from what he built for the life of people in general. So, and I totally agree that everything that you do is in teams, and that is something that I've learned more in engineering in the US than from business administration in Brazil. You cannot do anything without a team. That's why it's so important to have this emphasis that engineering is not something, because you may think that engineers is like Nicholas Tesla in a lab, lonely. It probably worked at a certain period of time, like Newton figuring out new things alone, but it's never alone. Anyway, more and more you must be more collaborative. There's always people working on the technology that you are using to develop what you're doing. So about the former quote about team A and team B, I agree kind of 80%. I like the sentence, but I think that I've seen people who manage to do fantastic things without necessarily having a brilliant team, but because joined a vehicle, an opportunity that was really good. So they had the entrance, they have this opening to an industry that allowed them to do that. But a team a team of incredible people that are a point outside of the curve. I think that a very good team sometimes can find very good ideas. So at the end of the day, I tend to agree that people that are honest, that are confident, and that has this vision of added value and innovation can find their operational path that will lead you to great ideas. I think that's one of the mottos of Fundação Estudar. They believe in good people, people with great potential, but people who can go around, who can think out of the box. So, but yeah, that's it. So it's a very important issue for investors and entrepreneurs who are thinking about ideas to create a new company's scale, manage to have scale. And I'm curious because both you and Ilknur are international people, you both speak English. And what is the strategy for launching HiSolver? You go to the market leveraging AI, using different languages at the same time. Do you focus specifically in a market to start with? How does it work? We are really focused right now in Brazilians, but we are already think about the US. HiSolver is a platform for info creators, but we have a sense of community. So we received proposals from companies who wanted to use it. We started with Harvard. We have a research at the dental school because there's a Brazilian professor there to test the technology with students in this university. But we are focusing in terms of operations in Brazilian creators, and you're going to bring these creators to the US, help them to sell contact in the US and start scaling an American operations. What happens is that we believe that the main issue for info creators to share technology in social media and monetize, the main issue is how you use the technology of agents the AI from info content creators. So we have to use the models of these people who have mentorship, courses, ebooks, and add AI in each one of them or rethink their model for a new AI product. There's something that we are developing, which is a technology for info creators so they can create micro apps that automate with AI agents a mentorship or a service that they would provide to like 50 people. Now they can do for 50,000. Of course, technology doesn't replace the human contact, but somehow helps you to scale. And we do believe that the creator economy will grow by 10, 100-fold. We do believe that providing tools like from AI agencies to creators, the potential for scaling educational operations and mentorship operations is something that has never been seen before. It's going to be huge. That's what we are betting on. Perfect. I'm going to ask you your final question, and then you're going to move to Ilknur. This question doesn't have anything to do with the political part. It has more to do with human resources that any startup needs to bring together a team of people. And you have an international team. So How do you see like bringing people to your team, engaging people in your team, like you and Ilknur are based in the US? Is there an impact? How do you see the current politics for international students in the US? Is there going to be an impact in your business? I do believe that international students have a very positive weight in the US. I have many, many international friends and American friends at the university. And what I realized compared to the experiences in Brazil, of course, in Brazil, we don't have this many international students. That with international students, you have a diversity of experiences, the diversity of different point of views, from a cultural point of view, about technology and the market, and differences on knowledges on market. For example, Ilknur, we became good friends, and she was telling me how the market works of content creators, of courses in Turkey. I didn't know that Udemy, which was one of the great platforms that I used, was from Turkey. And this diversity that like people are coming from different places add so much, not only from a cultural perspective, but knowledge on different markets and how they operate. I have many friends from India. How could I know what happens to India? My partners are from Korea. I have friends from Europe, Asia. So it was so interesting to understand how these other places work and how their market works. I didn't know the Brazilians are really engaged in social media until I met other people. I didn't know the difference of having in the Brazilian culture everybody using WhatsApp, and in the US you have people using different systems, like different chats. WhatsApp is not really used, but it's very international. This plurality adds so much, especially especially if you are an entrepreneur, because it provides you a unique vision of how different markets work and how can you compare. At the end of the day, your strategic thinking when you had this experience with other people improves so much. You get to know different models from different markets, and it's really, really rich. And so the US and the university is only gaining in dedicated international students. So you have people who want to be here to have their career in the US. I think that's very important. Very good. Now you're going to switch to English, and you're going to talk to Ilknur from Turkey. But I'm so happy that I have Wells, Leonard, Edgar, Jefferson, Christiani. We have many questions for us after our conversation. So keep sending your questions. We're getting there. Ilknur.
To have you with us. Thank you so much for agreeing to share your knowledge with us and talk to us. And my first question is just if you could share a little bit about your personal trajectory. You know, how did you end up at the Harvard School of Graduate School of Education from Turkey, and how did you end up at HiSolver?
Of course. First of all, thanks for everyone for joining and having to me. I mean, I feel there are lots of similarities between Brazil and Turkey, first of all. So I started my journey in Turkey, where I was born in and grew up in Turkey. I studied computer education and instructional technology in Middle East Technical University. My background, always blended technology and education. And after that, but I had always interested in computer science. So I worked as a software developer, and then I continued my career as a product manager, because I focused on user experience and learning technologies, how people can solve problems more effectively. So, like after my study and gaining some experience in an industry, I decided to do my master's in abroad. So I'm coming from the class family. So I'm also the first person like the went to university in my family. So it was also hard to me. So and then I applied many universities in Europe and in the US. And surprisingly, I got acceptance from Harvard Graduate School of Education, and I pursued my master's in learning design, innovation, and technology. And there, where I focused on more like innovation, learning technologies, data, and design principles, and to like the coming together between like the building more better digital experiences. It's not only for students, for everyone to like trying to grow in the that fast changing world. So this is mainly what is my journey.
Great. We have really a large diversity of students at Uninter from all over Brazil and really, all over the world. And I'm curious as to what your experience has been as a developer and acquiring skills, both in an academic or in, studying versus in work, right? So think from the perspective of somebody who's a student or just starting out in the workforce. What types of skills did you pick up studying, and what types of skills did you pick up on the job?
Yeah, actually, like to be honest, during my high school time, I wasn't the best student. I mean, my scores were firstly like very low because like I was always love to project-based learning, and then I was always gaining fun from the projects. And then after I started my university, like I joined lots of communities for learning computer science because my education field in education faculty, it's not the directly computer science. And then I learned myself. I spent lots of hours to learn computer science. And then I just started with the startups. I went there and I told them like, I don't need money. I don't want money. I just want to learn. I just want to come and learn what you guys are doing. And then I spent maybe like 6 months without any money. And I just worked with them. I learned them. I asked them many questions. I mean, like when they saw me, like they were running because I had lots of questions for them. And during COVID time, I realized, okay, I'm ready. I can start a company. And then I applied companies, but I didn't graduate. And I got some interviews and I passed them. And during the last interview round, they told me, "Oh, you're not graduated. You are still student." I said, "But okay, I got, I got, like I did good interviews, so everything it seems okay." And they accepted to me because the COVID time, like all of them working remotely. So I started my career early because of that. And like after I started as a software developer, I realized I want to um, be more engaged in also the product management and learn and see like how can help the people learn better across the product. So and then I got the transition between the product management. So
Great.
this is
I'm interested because but both you and Jan share a passion for education and for technology. So I'm curious if you could just briefly explain, like within your studies, right? You said you were at a graduate school focused on education, which wasn't purely about technology. And at some point in time, you also connected with Jan and with HiSolver. So, both in your studies where some of the people were purely focused on education, other people had some technology. How did those people or projects come together, in school, and also how did you connect with Jan and with HiSolver?
Yeah, actually, like in Cambridge, I love the community here because people are always like the welcoming for other fields. So you can always, like meet with someone from other fields, but you can see the collaboration, like between them. So for example, like I was working with clinicians. And I have background in education and technology, but I was working for clinicians and I was doing some prototyping, like is one project. With Ian, like we were friends for like almost 3 years, and like I mean, he had patient in HiSolver, so I saw like how it's like like his patient in HiSolver. So I saw the old process in growing up in 3 years. So and he has patient education. I have too. So it was just like the great match to work with them, and there's a big potential here. So I'm so happy to like being in the team.
Great. Well, thank you so much. We have so many great questions that are coming in from the audience that now I'm going to start asking both you and Jan. So I'm going to transition because most of the questions are in Portuguese, but you can answer in English and Jan can answer in Portuguese, and we'll go from there. Então, agora eu queria aproveitar as ótimas perguntas que estão vindo aqui e fazer essas
Now
perguntas
I'm gonna
tanto para Jan quanto para eu.
take the advantage that I have so many good questions. And first I have Leonardo Morales asking, what is the platform? He says that he's an info creator and he wants to change the platform. So Ian, what is the platform? Well, we have a potential client. So HiSolver.com, our platform is available. We have a very descriptive landing page, but what you're going to find are some tools that are going to help you to shape communities, integrated in communities and courses. We are launching new products. You can sell your AI agent. It help you to collect leads, for example, while you offer knowledge to your leads, to your potential buyers. If you want to have a partnership with info creators, we are launching these more high-tech products. So we have avatar clones for micro-learning, more specifically. You have a video generator for your audience, and now you have micro apps technology. So if you sell a consulting company like an ebook with a copywriting, because you're in the middle of digital marketing, so you're going to sell an AI agent that is connected to the interface of your followers. You can think that you have all your platforms and checkouts, but you don't have a community tool for your final users. For example, if you add 100 times the value to your final user, you can actually help create content with 10 times less cost. Okay, now I'm gonna get a question from Wesley. He has the question in Portuguese, but I'm gonna translate because I'm gonna ask the question to Ilknur.
So Ilknur, I'm asking a question on behalf of Wesley, and it's basically if you could give 2 or 3 pieces of advice for someone in the IT space to maximize the value of LinkedIn, right? What are a couple of pieces of advice that you would have around LinkedIn, CV, to attract companies or to improve your chances of being successful?
Yeah, I can say like don't be shy. Just just try to like to reach out to everyone. So and be prepared on your LinkedIn. Just be sure like everything is clear, and just just send them message. It's so normal, and then you can send them like the second message. So it's perfectly okay. So just be explore and like reach out to someone. Also be open to, like to help others, because it's a, like transaction. So, and I think on LinkedIn, there's a big potential, like to, to help people. For example, I got my scholarship via LinkedIn came to Harvard. So, like, use it. I can say just that.
Então, eu acho uma ótima dica. É muito simples, né? Em tese,
I think it's a
mas
great tip.
você
It's
já começa com
simple,
não. Se você
but
não fizer a
you
pergunta,
you
você,
start
por
with a no. If
definição,
you don't ask the
não vai ter a
question,
resposta que você quer. Não vai ter nenhuma resposta.
by
Então,
definition, you're not going to have any answer or the
fazer o
answer
que
you
a
want.
Ilknur
So
falou é
you
super
have a
importante
no.
de
So do
não
what
ter
Ilknur
medo.
said is very important.
Também tem que ter
Don't be
preparo.
shy, but you must
Então,
be
se você se
prepared.
preparar, você
So
consegue ter
if
dicas
you are
entre você
prepared,
fácil.
you can
Eu quero ajuda.
differentiate
Ok,
yourself.
legal.
You know you need help.
Mas eu quero
Everybody
ajuda
needs
com
help,
este
but I need
raciocínio, já
help
pensei nisso,
with
já
this
entendi, por exemplo, a página,
reasoning
visitei
behind
a página, eu
what
gosto
I'm
dessa
asking. I
página web,
visit the
entendo dos produtos que
website. I
oferecem, tem uma
understand the
pergunta,
products offered by this
eu uso
company.
uma
I
proposta de
have
valor,
a
né, para
good
ser
value
aproximado
proposition
da empresa, pouco
to
mais
be part of the
afirmado do que o
company,
outro,
more in
e também
line
se
with
esforçou,
someone
né,
else that
e
also
mostrou interesse. Então,
did
isso é
their homework.
super
But
importante.
I
Sem
think
você
Ilknur's point is
tentar
very
se
important. If you
aproximar,
don't try to get
com toda
closer,
pressão, não vai chegar
by
a lugar
definition,
algum.
you're not going to get anywhere.
Eu vou dar pitaco aqui.
Jason, I'm going to say something. I have a very interesting story to tell about this. Don't be shy. Well, I had a scholarship from Fundação Estudar and Fundação Lehman, and I met Jorge Palon Lehman, the guy who created Ambev, and he's an awesome guy. The first time I talked to him, he was at a Fundação Lehman event, and I remember that people were taking pictures with him. And I decided to talk to him. Listen, that was 2022. I'm doing my master's. I want to build something in education. I want to have some advice. He gave me his email. And I talked to him by 2 hours. And he actually, they called me later on, after doing my master's. I had some highlights in my experience, but I have information with people from Behring, Lomax, Brecht, and the thing of talking to people makes a lot of sense. I met the richest guy in Brazil. I just came to him and said, George, can you chat? Can we talk? And Job used to say, don't be afraid of talking to people. Of course, most of the people are not going to answer you, but some people will. So that's where you get the opportunities. Excellent. This question comes from Jefferson Arnoni, and the question is the following. AI is going to dominate education. Teachers are going to be replaced. Let's start with Ian, and then we're going to go to Ilknur. Well, talking about artificial intelligence is not easy because it depends on timing. Okay, in 2 years, I don't believe it's going to replace everything. If you talk about 20 years, it's going to replace a lot. Many things are going to be created. And from my point of view, one of the things that's going to happen with AI is that, thinking about what you're saying and the economy of creators, you're going to be able to allow a professor, a teacher, a professor that was a milestone in my life. He came from the ITA Institute, and he was really careful about the students. I remember that I spent 3 hours after the class that started at 10 in the evening, asking questions, and the guy was there with us. And he became a very good friend of mine. We speak every week. We are publishing articles together, and Professor Oscar made a huge difference. It's different to scale a professor like Professor Oscar, and that's the potential that I think that what AI can do to the education is going to be more and more clear, because it's going to be one of the great leaderships in this process. And you're learning more on the internet than what you learn in the classroom, the main vehicle of knowledge sharing. And throughout this time, I believe that what AI is doing is empower the content creator and the professor to teach more people and teach better and teach with a better target. So imagine that at university, you're going to look for Professor A or B about a specific topic. Now, you're going to go for the creator A or B to talk about a specific niche, a specific question that you have about process or a specific area of professional or personal life. So for a while, AI will potentialize or add to educators' capacity, especially in digital media. My mentor here, a Brazilian Japanese guy, likes to say that AI in the classroom will replace the bad professor and potentialize the good ones. On the long term, thinking about 20, 30 years, even less, in 10 years, many things are going to change. It's difficult to forecast or foresee what's going to happen. But if you have more knowledge, more engagement with this movement of increasing capacity of AI, that's what's going to happen. So
Perfect.
that's it. Thank you.
Ilknur, I don't know if you have anything that you'd like to add to that. But I have a question that's specific to you, so I'll give you the opportunity to pick if you want to add on to what Jan said or address the second one. So this is one moment. I'm going to pick the question here. So this is from Julia Suarez, who is actually, I believe, one of our global student ambassadors. And the question is, as an educator, how do you believe we can effectively use AI in the classroom to increase student engagement and foster more interactive learning experiences?
Yes, I think it's a related question, the last question, like Ian answered. I think like the teachers' roles are not only the teaching the lesson, also like teach the way how the students can reach the knowledge. So I think with AI, this thing is getting more like easier and more quick way. So with AI tools, I believe it's not replace the teacher's role, because like we have all the digital products, but still we are using pencil. So it's the one of the example. So I mean, I think like the balance between the teacher's role will change. Like for example, they will more focus on the way how their students learn quickly. For example, like micro learning. So it's gonna be more, I think, the more the trend way. So because like people are getting more easy to learn something and reach the knowledge more easier way. So I think the teachers can be more like the focus on the new trends. How can they use AI to like the getting to increase the motivation in learning. So for example, using the AI tools to like for the students and getting more quick way to like the lesson more enjoyable, I think.
Thank you. Então, tem uma pergunta aqui da Maria Clara e
I have a question from Maria Clara and other people who have similar questions that is very in practice. What are the first steps to start learning and dominating AI, and what will be the next steps after the first steps? So those are giant and huge different worlds. So for those who are starting, how to start and where? Well, it's a joke, but go to HiSolver, check us out. But how to engage with artificial intelligence? Well, one of the greatest classes that I took in Harvard was Professor Sage. He was not at school. He was not at the School of Engineering. It was the School of Education, where he taught us how to use AI, how to use prepare prompts, how to have this conversation. And I believe that the first thing that you do, especially if you are a layperson, is start to understand what are AI applications in your life, in the markets you are interested in, or even markets that you are not interested in, but are crucial, like finance, digital market, health, and start engaging as a user, understanding this layer of usability of AI. For those who want to be more technical, who actually want to understand how AI works under the hood, I would recommend start thinking first on business models, the great labs of large companies, to understand what type of incentive exists behind those great labs to build a certain type or another of artificial intelligence. I'm going to give you a very basic example. We want to see more AI agents that are super powerful. For example, during the 60s and 70s, there was a computer that would run for hours. And we got used to something that is instantaneous. We use AI, they give an answer right away, and so on and so forth. Something that's going to happen is that you're going to have a type of AI. We are going to have a type of AI that are going to provide such complex tools that AI is going to, it's going to take AI 1 hour or 2 hours or many hours performing this task, or days. So you're going back to the scenario where you send large projects and instructions to AI, and they are going to do into stages or steps. So starting understanding what AI is understanding its usability, the motivation of AI companies, the scenario behind this, and then start engaging with, for those who are interested in, with the hard engineering, machine learning engineering, machine learning research, and also thinking about the way you think, learning how to learn or meta learning. Because if you start studying machine learning engineering or researching with this mindset of how I learn and how these things that I learn are trying to emulate AI, it's gonna take you a step further in what the algorithms are doing and where things are going. So I would say that your main task for those that are not technical to get into these media, go to HiSolver.
So now I'm gonna put together 2 questions, and I'm gonna make them in English so that Ilknur can go first, and then Jan, you can answer after. So the first one from Maria Eduarda Rocha is: do you think there should be rules on AI in terms of how dangerous it can be, especially images being generated and those types of problems? And then Lucio asks a question about access, which is sort of the opposite. One is it's moving too fast. Should there be controls on it? And then the other one is reflecting on the fact that the industrial revolution of 100 of years ago still hasn't reached all parts of the planet. So how can you worry about true universal access to things when it's taken so long and still isn't there for technologies that are from long ago? So Ilknur, if you could go first, and then Jan, you can pick up from where she leaves off.
Yeah. I mean, like AI is growing very fast. So I mean, it's really hard to, like to keep sometimes to understand how it's growing. So I think like the controlling is like it should be like there should be some the rules, of course, to like for security purposes. And AI is growing in, like the different fields. It's not just education or engineering, the other parts. It's also like we can see that it's also growing in the law fields. So I think like there will be some also the new things for AI in the security and law. So we should be, like we should get awareness about how we should use AI to like the being more transparent and like in a good way. I would say.
Em
Quer
português?
complementar, Ian?
Vamos,
Pode, por favor.
português.
Okay, I'm going to
claro.
speak Portuguese.
Então,
So
eu acredito que essa coisa de regular
I
AI é
believe
complicado,
that regulating AI is
porque tem muitas
complicated
complexidades, né,
because it's too complex. The level of
Eu tô lendo,
complexity
inclusive,
is a lot. I'm reading,
eu tô lendo
let me see if I have the name of the book. I'm reading a few books about that I could recommend. That's the
Não sei se
book.
vai aparecer aqui, mas é o
Nexus,
Harari. Não
the
aparece aqui, mas
of
recomendo muito
Yuval
esse livro.
Harari. I do
Livros
recommend
Nick
his
Boston
books.
também falam bastante
Nick
sobre
Boston's
esse
books
tipo de
are
coisa,
also
muito
very
importante.
interesting. He
É,
talks a
eu
lot about
acredito
this stuff.
que,
And I do
talvez a coisa
believe
mais
that
importante em
I think
relação
that the
à
most
IA,
important thing about AI,
pensando, né, na
thinking
humanidade como um
about
todo, tal, essa perspectiva
humanity
mais
as a
ampla,
whole
o
in a
investimento
broader context is the
decisivo
investment
de
in
AI safety,
research
né, de como que você
on
constrói
AI
modelos que
safety.
não,
How can you build
que
models
perdem controle.
that
Por que
don't
que isso é muito mais
get
importante?
crazy and
Porque,
get
por
out
exemplo,
of
no prazo de
control?
10, né,
So
15
thinking
anos e tal,
about
a gente vai
10
ter
to
mais
15
sistemas
years, you're going to have
superpoderosos que eu comentei,
more
com
super
inteligência
powerful
artificial e tal,
systems
e de fato eles
working
podem
in
ocupar e
super
tomar basicamente
automations,
o
and
controle de
they
cenários importantes.
can have
Imagina, você tem um
flaws and
plano de
can get
negócio
out of
para tomar
control.
uma decisão,
For
por
example,
exemplo, de
to
investimento que envolve, sei lá,
investment
bilhões de
decision
dólares, né?
making that
Você tem
involve
que saber o que
billions
você está
of dollars. It's
fazendo.
important to
A
know
IA
what you're
tem esse
doing.
nível de
And
segurança.
AI, you should have some sort of control. And about accessibility,
eu acredito
I
que
do believe
a IA
that
ela vai ter
AI,
eu acredito assim, grande
I believe
potencial de
that it's going to have
tornar
a
profissionais da área.
a
Isso não podemos
deflationary
pensar ao longo de uma década, 2 décadas, e que, na
power,
verdade, ela vai
especially in a
representar a
couple of
tecnologia
decades.
mais
It's going
acessível
to
da
be the
história.
more
Vai ficar
accessible
cada vez
technology in
com
history. You're going to
basicamente
have more and
todo
more
mundo vai ter um
people,
assistente
like
pessoal, todo mundo
everybody's
vai
going to
poder
have a
usar de
personal
alguma forma,
assistant, everybody's going to be using AI somehow.
inclusive nas
And
próprias discussões
actually, in
de
some of the discussions
desigualdade, eu acho que
in
vão
terms
acabar
of
indo
inequality, I think they're going to
que tipo de IA a pessoa tem
end
acesso.
up
Porque, por
in
exemplo,
what
né,
type of AI
hoje tem
someone has
diversos
access to.
determinados tipos
So,
de
like
IA. Você tem
today, I
acesso a
have
um
access
tipo
to
de
some
IA
sort
e,
of
sei
AI.
lá,
You have
um
access to
chefe de
different
Estado
types of
tem acesso a um
AIs,
outro tipo de IA,
and the
IA
chief of
muito mais
state has a
poderosa e tal.
different
Então, essas
sort
discussões vão
type
começar a
of
ser
AI.
cada
So
vez mais importantes.
these
Eu acho
issues going
que
to become more and more important,
as pessoas se informarem, né,
and
sobre inteligência,
people get
a população tá
informed
informada sobre
about
inteligência artificial,
population,
essa discussão vai ser muito importante.
the population
Eu
being
acredito que
informed
isso vai
about
ser
AI is going to be more and more
da história humana.
important. I think
Então,
that's
não
I
só
believe that it's the
questão
most
sobre
important
regulamentação e
technology in the
tal,
human
mas o público
history,
estar informado
not
sobre
only
IA, eu acho que é
in
a
implementation and
grande
deployment,
da
but
nossa época.
people being informed. I think that's the issue of our
Excelente. Então, o
era.
tempo vai voando. Eu vou fechar
Time
com um
flies.
conjunto de
I have to
perguntas aí para
close
vocês,
with
então,
a
vocês
set of
responderem em mais
questions,
ou menos
and I
uns
hope
dois
you can
minutos cada para a gente
answer
encerrar
in a couple of
rapidinho
minutes so
nossa
you can
entrevista.
close
Então,
on
a
time
Stephanie
our webinar.
Weber
Stephanie
acredita que a
Weber
inteligência
believes
artificial
that
vai
AI
substituir
will
profissionais
replace
de marketing,
professionals in
publicidade,
marketing,
relações públicas.
advertisement,
Aí tem
public
outras perguntas
relations,
de outras
and I have other
indústrias. Então, se
peoples
me interessa
from other
qual vai ser o
industries.
impacto no setor
What's
de
going to be the
educação.
impact in
Uma pessoa
education?
perguntando em relação a
There's
como que
someone
vai ser
asking
na
about
indústria.
how it's going to
Então,
be in
tira
industry.
assim um pouco sua bola de
So
cristal e
it's
nessas
like get your crystal
diversos
ball out of your
setores
purse,
da
and
economia,
in different
da
sectors of the
educação,
economy and
qual é
education,
a sua
what's
visão
going to
de como
happen?
a inteligência
How do
vai
you see
impactar
how
nesses
artificial
setores, por
intelligence
favor?
is going
Ian,
to
e depois
impact
Ian.
us? In 1 minute or a couple of
Primeiro, a
minutes.
inteligência
Jan
artificial vai
first.
permitir
First,
que cada
artificial
vez mais
intelligence
pessoas
would
se
allow
tornem
more and more people to
product
become
managers. Então,
product
você vai, para
managers.
resolver um problema,
So
você vai
to
ter um
solve a
hall de
problem,
inteligências
you
artificiais,
need
agentes de IA, especializados em uma determinada tarefa e vão resolver esse
AI
problema para
agents
você. E eu acredito que,
specialized in
ainda mais pensando
certain
em white collar jobs, né, trabalhos ali
jobs,
com
especially
dados, banco de
about
dados
white
numa empresa, né,
collar jobs like
analistas, por exemplo,
data processing
vai ser bem
analysts.
geral. Eu vejo assim,
It's going to
basicamente
be
tudo vai
a
se aplicar
general
para
thing.
isso.
I
E
think
tá
most of the
pelo
prediction,
menos dessa
the
forma.
professions
Sempre
are
vai
going to
existir uma
change.
inteligência artificial
There's always going to
ajudando ali
be an
profissionais.
AI agent helping the professional. I think that's the future.
Perfeito.
Perfect.
Your thoughts,
Ilknur.
please.
I mean, I agree with Ian comments. So I see there's a big potential, and the future it's gonna be like the like getting so I mean the like inthinkable. So like I feel yeah, like there will be many changes. So and it's gonna be like the reduce some some sectors, but also it will help to like to increase other jobs and new jobs. So I think there will be balance using with AI. So the some new opportunities will come up.
Queria
Perfeito.
fazer um
Então, eu
último
também
comentário.
iria...
Um
Sim,
último
por
comentário,
favor.
pegando nisso que o Ilknur falou, tá?
Just
Eu acho que
a,
uma macro
a
trend
final
você
question,
vê em muitos setores,
comment. I think the macro trend that you're going to have is that you're going to need a profession that has to go through a different sector to generate value to the final user. For example, you go to the psychologist, the doctor to add values directly to the client without going through the hospital. I think this movement is really a macro trend connected to community economy. Perfect. It was a very rich conversation. And I think what Ilknur said is go after things. I think it has to do with learning on artificial intelligence, the technology that changes really fast. But if you get stuck in time, in 5 years, the most intelligent person today are going to be lost in 5 years. So the importance of going after more knowledge, and that's why you guys are studying, and combine these two things, go on your own, but also the value added from a professor or people with more knowledge is extremely important. So first, I'd like to close by thanking Ian and Ilknur from HiSolver. Congratulations on your effort. I know that you've been drinking a lot of coffee. That's going to keep happening. It's part of the business. And our audience for being with us. It's always a pleasure to have you in our Talking Business, and hope to see you soon in other events. If you don't know HiSolver, get into their website to understand what they do in terms of solutions, but also to learn what's going on in this area. So it was a great event. Thank you to our speakers, and thank you to everyone who were in our audience.